The Euro 2024 knockout stages is finally here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my round of 16 predictions for which teams I think are going to advance and which teams sadly will get eliminated. Obviously, before we start this video, if you haven't noticed, I am in a new setup. I'm recording with my phone and it probably sounds like ass, but that is because I am currently in Italy on vacation and I forgot a few things, and this is going to have to do for the next few videos. So I am sorry if it doesn't sound that good, but this is the best I can do. So without further ado, I hope you still enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. Starting off with the first game, we have Spain versus Georgia, and to be honest, I did not expect Georgia to make it this far. I thought they were 100% going to get knocked out in the group stages, but they shocked a lot of people. They ended up beating Portugal in their last game, and they are currently one of the better performing teams in this Euros. Currently, the Georgian striker Mika Tauze is the top goal scorer in this tournament, and I feel like they have really overperformed. But coming up against Spain, I don't think they have what it takes. Spain have been, in my opinion, one of the best teams so far in this Euros. Against Italy, against Albania, and against Croatia, they performed incredibly in every single game. And in my opinion, they're actually one of the favorites to win this whole tournament. So for that reason, I do think they will beat Georgia 2-0 and they will advance to the next round. Moving on to the next game, we have Germany against Denmark. And in my opinion, Denmark are always a dark horse in these European competitions. We've seen them so many times before where they perform much better than expected. But coming up against Germany, who are the host nation, I think Germany are going to pretty comfortably win this game. Germany in the group stages started off incredibly strong against both Scotland and against Hungary, but against Switzerland, they didn't really perform that well. Now, obviously, they weren't starting their strongest lineup as they were already the first team that was confirmed in the round of 16. But in my opinion, they did struggle a little bit against Switzerland, and that showed a few signs of weakness. But coming up against Denmark, I do think Germany are still the favorites. I think it will be a pretty tough match, but I'm going to predict that Germany advance 2-1. Moving on to the next game, we have Portugal against Slovenia. Slovenia were in the same group as England and Denmark, and a lot of people didn't expect them to make it this far. Personally, in my predictions, I did predict them to advance, but it was always going to be a very 50-50 chance between them and Serbia. Now, obviously, they did end up advancing, and to be honest, they played pretty well in the group stages, a lot better than what some people might have expected. Portugal are obviously one of the favorites in this competition, but in their most recent game, they ended up losing 2-0 against Georgia, which was a pretty shocking result. Obviously, they didn't perform that well, and again, they also started a few of their bench players, but even that is still a very disappointing loss to them. But in this game against Slovenia, I think Slovenia are a little bit out of their depth. I think Portugal, in terms of their attack, midfield, their defense, their depth, I think they are just a much better squad than Slovenia, and for that reason, I think it will be a very close game, but Portugal will just edge it out. I think they're going to win 1-0 to advance to the next round. Moving on to the next game, we have France against Belgium, and in my opinion, this is the first really tight matchup. Throughout the last decade, in every single competition, both France and Belgium are one of the favorites, and they have been known as the strongest European nations in recent years. But in my opinion, in this tournament, both of these teams have been underperforming. France started off strong with a win against Austria, but in their recent two games, they drew against the Netherlands and against Poland. And Belgium, on the other hand, started off horribly as they lost against Slovakia, but then they did come back, win their next game. But in their recent game against Ukraine, they did end up drawing that game 0-0. Obviously, both of these teams were favorites to finish first place in their group, but they both underperformed and they both ended up finishing in second place, and that is why they're coming up against each other so early in this competition. But in my opinion, I do think France are still the favorites. Obviously, they have players like Mbappe, they have some of the best players in the midfield and the defense. Didier Deschamps is a known winner. He has won multiple competitions before, and for that reason, I do think they will be able to get the better of Belgium. Obviously, you can't sleep on Belgium. They are still a good team, and even though their golden generation is starting to come to an end, we have seen a lot of incredible young Belgian players. But in this game against France, I do think France are going to win. I think the score is going to be 3-1 and they will advance to the next round. I do think France are actually the favorites in this competition, and even though in recent games they haven't been performing that well, I think they will come back and they will win this game. Moving on to the other side of the draw, the first game we have is Romania against the Netherlands. Most people did not expect Romania to make it this far, as they ended up finishing first place in their group, ahead of Belgium and ahead of Ukraine. In my group stage predictions, I did predict that Romania were going to get knocked out in the group stages. But I also did say that they are a very underrated team and you cannot sleep on them because they have some great talents and they have the ability to upset teams like Belgium, like Ukraine, and that is exactly what they did in the group stages. But do I think Romania has what it takes to beat the Netherlands, a team that throughout history is an incredible nation, a team that as of recent has some incredible talents, both old veterans and young talents? I actually think that Romania can overtake Netherlands. It will be very, very tough, and obviously the Dutch are a very strong nation and they are actually one of the favorites in this competition. But in my opinion, in their recent games against both France and recently against Austria, they did not perform well. They looked very, very poor in all areas of the pitch, and sadly in this round of 16 game, I don't think they will perform that well. I'm going to go with the underdog Romania to beat Netherlands in this game. I think the score will be 2-1 and Romania will surprisingly advance to the next round. Moving on to the next game, we have Austria against Turkey. Turkey were always going to be a very strong team in this competition, and in most international competitions, they are usually known as dark horses, a team that has the ability to go far, but aren't necessarily regarded as one of the top teams. But coming up against Austria, a team that had an amazing group stages, they beat Poland, they beat the Netherlands, they drew against France, they have been one of the most surprising teams so far. I think Austria are going to be able to beat Turkey. I think this will be a very, very close game. Both of these teams, in my opinion, are on a similar level in terms of their players and their ranking. I think they're both very equal. But I do think that Austria are just going to edge it over Turkey, a little 1-0 win, and I think Austria will advance to the next round. Moving on to the next game, we have England against Slovakia. And in my opinion, in the group stages, England were the most disappointing team so far. So many people before this tournament were saying that England are one of the favorites to win it, that they are the favorites to win it. But in my opinion, I never really saw them as favorites because of two things: their players and their manager. Obviously, we've seen Gareth Southgate in many other competitions, and he's never really performed as good as expected. And in this competition, I don't know why people thought that things were going to change. He is not a world-class manager. So many other nations have much better managers than Gareth Southgate. And for that reason, I think he is really hurting England. And secondly, England's players, yes, they have some of the best talents in the world, especially in the attack and in the midfield. But there are so many young players that don't have a lot of experience playing together. And for that reason, I just didn't think their squad was going to perform as good as expected. And clearly, as we saw in the group stages, they were one of the most disappointing teams. They only scored 1 goal from open play. And I think against Slovakia, it is going to be very, very tough for them. Obviously, Slovakia are not a top tier team. But the fact that England were so poor in the group stages, I think that they're going to bring that same quality into the knockout stages. And I think they will be lucky if they end up beating Slovakia. Because of how incredible their squad is, I have to predict England to advance. But I think it is going to be very, very close. And I think the scoreline will be 1-0. They will just advance and they will make it to the next round. And finally, the last game we got in the round of 16 predictions is Switzerland against Italy. Obviously, I am supporting Italy in this competition. I am currently on vacation in Italy. And for that reason alone, I have to predict them to advance to the next round. But on a realistic level, I do think Italy have the quality to beat Switzerland. Obviously, Switzerland are another team like Denmark, like Austria, who are generally dark horses in these international competitions, and they have the ability to beat some of the top tier teams. And Italy, on the other hand, yes, we saw them beat Albania in the group stages. We saw them score an incredible last-minute winner against Croatia. But against Spain, who obviously are an incredible team, but Italy were very, very poor in this match. So yes, I think Italy have shown some real quality in this Euros. We've seen some incredible young players shine in their squad, but I don't think they've been particularly good. But Switzerland were also not particularly good in the group stages. They did obviously get that draw against Germany, and they obviously beat Hungary. But in their second game against Scotland, they looked very, very poor, and they ended up drawing that game against, in my opinion, one of the worst Scotland teams that we've seen. So yes, I do think Italy will be able to win, but I think it's going to be very, very close. Switzerland are obviously going to give it their all. They're obviously a great team. And for that reason, I think Italy will just make it into the next round. They're going to win 2-1 to advance. And that is the end of my Euro 2024 round of 16 predictions, where I predicted which teams I think will advance to the next round and which teams sadly will get eliminated. If you guys agree with my predictions, let me know in the comments down below. And obviously, if you disagree with my predictions, remember to leave a comment down below telling me which teams you think will advance and which teams you think will get eliminated. And obviously, I will be sure to reply to every single comment. And obviously, if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.